Alrighty, we are continuing with Perek Tes Zion, chapter 16 in Tehillim, the Psalms. And I confess that, as I did last time, that I find this one a little bit more challenging. The language is a little tougher, and the transitions are a little challenging as well, but we'll do the best we can. So it begins with this phrase that we mentioned before, Michtam LaDavid. And while there are a number of interpretations that it relates to David's purity of heart, purity of motive. But I particularly like Rev Hirsch's um, interpretation of stain, not something, not a blemish, but like one stains wood, uh, and as opposed to paint or lacquer, which goes on the surface, stain is absorbed into the wood and enhances the natural beauty of the wood. So David is expressing an idea that penetrates deeply and brings out a profound inner truth. Um, and he says, I have ki chasisi bach, I've sought refuge in you. Amar Lashem Adonai ata toivasi ba olecha. David says that you have said Hashem. Sorry, you have said to Hashem, and now he switches into the voice of his neshama. And we talked about how the neshama is part of us, but we are still something more complex than that. A human being is a composite. I was going to use the word synthesis. I'm not sure synthesis is quite the right word, because that suggests a blending together. And while there's a nuance there, I'm not quite comfortable with it. I think it's more like a oh gosh, I had the word just escaped me. Um, like a coexistence. Um, Number of different parts that retain their individual identity, yet still come together to form a whole. The physical elements within us are pulling us in one direction. The neshama is pulling us in a different direction. And the avoda is to allow the neshama to guide us in harnessing the impulses of the body. And that is that's the way of describing the purpose of human beings, to integrate the physical, to elevate the physical, and to channel the physical in the direction of spirituality. So my neshama, he says, calls to you, Hashem. I'm sorry, I'm not. He says to his neshama, you have said to Hashem, you are my master. I have no claim for your benefit. As I don't claim I deserve anything. You created me as a gift. Everything you give me is a gift. The opportunity to earn Olam Haba is a gift. So I really have no claims to make. And that's the neshama speaking. The Kedoshim Asher Ba'aretz Hema Va'aride Kol Chetzibam. And then David goes back to his narrative. For the sake of the holy ones who are buried in the earth and for the mighty, all my desires are due to them. I find inspiration in the tzaddikim of previous generations. I see how they lived their lives. I see their level of commitment. I see the devotion and how their efforts have smoothed the path for me. In a sense, they are the trailblazers. They're the ones who laid down the path that I can walk on. They provide the merit that allows me to struggle and succeed through the material world. And then again, he shifts gears. Yirbu atzvoi sam, acher moharu ba asich niskehem midam, aval esa es shemoisam al sifosai. And what's really curious to me is that he then starts talking about the wicked without identifying them. He just uses a pronoun, as my eighth grade history teacher would have said. He pronouned. Um, the whole point of a pronoun is that you're referencing something that's already been identified, and yet there's no identification here. And so we explained that David does not want to call them by name. He doesn't want to grant them chashivos, importance, substance. He just wants to address them obliquely. It's almost as if they have no identity. We think we mentioned that in Megillas Rus, which we'll be reading Mitzvah Shem and Shavuos coming up, that this character Ploni Almoni, Mr. Anonymous, John Doe, he has the opportunity to see his greatness, and he backs away from it because he's too worried about the fallout, about the consequences. And so he remains anonymous. These people are even a level below that. They're corrupt. And so David says their sorrows should multiply. They should, and there are those who rush after other gods. And there are really two ways this can happen. It can happen, but they could do tshuva, and that's always the ideal. I've thought if there's really somebody that somebody who's really gotten under your skin, I mean, more than gotten you really feel wronged by somebody, and you have these feelings, and you want to see them pay, right? It's not a good meta, right? We don't want revenge, but sometimes you just can't help feeling that way. So you know what you should do? You should daven that they do tshuva. Because if somebody's done something that bad and they do tshuva, they'll spend the rest of their lives in remorse over what they did. Real tshuva, a person takes to heart the mistakes they made. It's not just like putting white out on a mistake. Right? Real tshuva means that I recognize what I've done, and I feel horrible about it. If I've really done something that bad, right? The person spent his whole life doing tshuva. If it's really something egregious, probably none of us are in that category. But that could be another way of understanding David, right? David saying, Hashem, ideally they should do tshuva, and then they'll just be buried with sorrow for having rejected you. And if they're not willing to do that, then okay. We see this in Shemona Esrei. We talked about it when we did davening. We have the bracha of Hashivenu, right? And Hashivo Sheftenu, right? Brachas for tshuva. Help us do tshuva. And then, if that doesn't work, we have the Lamalshinim, right? For the heretics, right? For the people that have so far off the derech and they're not doing tshuva, let there be no hope. I think you can see some of that in David's words here. So that's what we got to last time. So we continue to pasuk Hey. Hashem manas chalki v'koisi. Hashem is my portion and my share. Ata toimich garoli. And I'm going to read the English here. You guide my destiny. The word taimig, I think, is more often seen to be a support. You support my destiny, and that might make things a little bit easier. There's an interesting medrash that's brought here that a king had a banquet, and he told his friend to help himself to any of the delicacies on the table. And when he saw that the friend wasn't responding, the king reached over, took his friend's hand, and put it on some of the food and said, "Here, take this." Sometimes we get overwhelmed. We don't know, what are we supposed to take from this world? What are we supposed to use? What's the path that's going to lead us in the right direction? And so, on one level, David is saying, Hashem, guide me in making the right choices. Guide me in making the right decisions, the ones that are going to pay off in the end. But there is a certain question that arises here. And we just mentioned the Brucha Hashivenu in Shemona Esrei, and we talked about this when we did Tefillah. It's a peculiar bracha. We're asking Hashem for what exactly? Lead us to do tshuva. Inspire us to do tshuva. What does that mean? I mean, it's my job to do tshuva. Hashem can't do tshuva for me. There's a story about, I think it was a Brisker Rav. They had a guest, and the Brisker Rav was making the bed for this guest. The guest felt very uncomfortable. He didn't like the Brisker Rav making his bed. So he started helping make the bed. And the Brisker Rav didn't say anything. But the next day in Shabbos in Shul, the Brisker Rav asked the Gabi to give this fellow a Hagba. The Gabi thought, that's strange. The Rav never gets involved in Aliyahs. So when the guy went up for Hagba, the Brisker Rav rushed up and he said, "Oh, here, that looks very heavy. Let me help you lift it." And the guy got the message that making the bed was the host's mitzvah. Right? You can't you don't take somebody else's mitzvah if they're having trouble, they'll ask for help.
Isn't that kind of heavy-handed, though? I mean, we're talking about the Brisker Rub.
Unintended?
Well, I mean, it's the Brisker Rub. I mean, wasn't there something maybe a little less heavy-handed?
Well, what they say about these stories?
Okay,
Some
gotcha.
of them are true.
They're all true. That some of them just haven't happened yet.
They say if you say none of them happened, you're an happy chorus. If you say all of them happened, you're a fool. I don't know. I wasn't there, but the story's told. Who knows? Maybe got embellished along the way. But I think you can get the point that we're asking Hashem, or it sounds like we're asking Hashem for something. David here too. He says, right, Hashem, you guide my destiny. You guide my lot. You guide my fate. What exactly is he saying? Isn't my fate in my hands? Isn't it a function of free will? Don't I choose to be good or bad or right or wrong the path I'm going to walk? And then it's all up to me. Either I'm rewarded or I'm punished. So one of the explanations is, and this applies to Shemona Esrei as well, we're asking Hashem to remove some of the obstacles. Saying, Hashem, give me more of a fighting chance. Help me overcome the natural resistance so that I can make better choices. In fact, you even find this in the discussion about Paro. Hashem hardening his heart. According to one opinion, Hashem hardened Paro's heart because with all the miracles Paro saw, how could he not let the people go? Hashem had to harden his heart to restore his free will. So when we make reference to Hashem, perhaps intervening in areas that are really our responsibility, what we're asking for is for him to just maybe tilt things a little bit in our favor so that we can find within ourselves the wherewithal to travel the course and make the choices that are in our own best interest. Pasuk Vav. Chavolim noflu li baneimim. They translate this as chavolim. They translate as also like a lottery, a goyrel. Portions have fallen to me in pleasant places. Af nachlos shofra olai. Even the inheritance is beautiful to me. And on one level, this is really a very sort of simple message that David is saying that whatever portion you've given me, Hashem, I find absolute satisfaction in that. this is something that I know personally I struggle with it. I think a lot of us struggle with it. It's very natural for us to feel like we could be doing better if things would be different. If if I only had this, if I only had that, if I didn't have this problem, if I had that benefit, if this thing would have worked out the way I wanted it to, uh, uh, most people, there's a natural human predisposition to to go with the what ifs and the if onlys, and to think that things could have been so much better. Things could have been so much more to my advantage. And that runs contrary to the whole concept of Gamzu L'Tova. This is for the good. What does it mean, this is for the good? It means that Hashem put me in this situation because what I have to accomplish in my life for the perfection of my soul can best be accomplished in the place and with the resources that Hashem has given me. And that's encapsulated in what David is saying here. He says, I don't wish for a different portion. Now, the bit of a paradox here is that we still daven for things we don't have. On the one hand, Samech B'Cholkoi, the one who's rich is the one who's happy with his portion, but at the same time, we're davening for things we don't have, which implies maybe I'm not so content with my portion. But there's not a contradiction there, because what I have now is exactly what I need now. I have aspirations. I have talents. I have abilities that I want to develop, that I want to utilize, and I don't feel like I am. I can ask Hashem to help me have opportunities to utilize those more. And maybe the reason I don't have them now is because I need to daven, or I need to engage in self-reflection and introspection, or I have to develop myself more so that I'll be able to accomplish more when the opportunity arises. Very often we want something and it doesn't come in the time we want it. And when we get it, we may realize that I'm so much better off for not having it gotten it earlier, because earlier maybe I would have squandered it. Maybe I would have misused it. Maybe I wouldn't have been ready to take advantage of it. And now when the opportunity comes, oh, now I can really make the most of this. Pasuk Zayin. Avorech es Hashem asher ya'atzani af leilos yisruni kilyosai. I will bless you, Hashem, I will bless Hashem um, who has advised me. Also, in the nights, my intellect directs me or steers me. So whenever I can look back at a choice I made and see that that seems to have been the right choice, that's when I thank Hashem for giving me the insight and the wisdom and the and the discipline to go in the way that He inspired me to go. Because ultimately, again, it's still a matter of free will. Hashem opens up my eyes to see the paths in front of me, and then it's my job to take the right path. And if I can look back and see that I took it, or it seems that I took it, I can thank Him for that. I should thank Him for that. But then, what's the next step? Also in the nights, my intellect directs me. Now, what's the significance of the nighttime? The nighttime is a time of passivity. It's a time of reflection. We can lie in our bed at night, and very often our minds go in all different kinds of ways. But what we really should be doing in the evening when we're winding down is reflecting on the decisions we've made in the past day, in the past week, and over time. Really reflecting, how have I made my choices? How have I made my decisions? Um, it's a time of more um, of that kind of introspection. Now, what's interesting is this word, and we mentioned this before, as it comes up from time to time. We'll mention it again. The word for intellect here, kol yosai, is really my kidneys. You know, we typically talk about the heart and the mind. David Miller talks about the heart and the kidneys. Why? What's the function of the kidneys? Right? The kidneys are filters. They filter out the waste so that the clean blood can flow back into the body. And what does intellect do? Intellect is a filter. Right? We filter out the ideas that are not healthy. We filter out the ideas and the mindsets and the attitudes that steer us in the wrong direction. So the um, the heart is a place of impulse, and the kidneys are a place, and the mind are a place of restraint. Right? So what do you do when um, you want self-control? We say you rein in your impulses. And what do you call the kidney system? The renal system. The same word, right? Because it has to do with the self-control and the self-discipline that comes from filtering out the unhealthy ideas and attitudes to which we're predisposed. And then a verse that we all know, Shivisi Hashem lanegdi somit, I have placed you, Hashem, before me always. Ki mimini bal emoit. That you are by my right hand, I will not stumble. Now, this is the way my Rebbe always described Yitzhak Avinu. Um, Yitzhak Avinu, he always saw Hashem's presence. Right? If you're standing on the corner and you're thinking about jaywalking and you see a policeman there, you don't jaywalk. Right? It's when you think nobody's looking, you think you can get away with it, that's when you jaywalk. Right? If the policeman's there, you're not going to try it. Right? So imagine going through life like that with respect to Hashem. Right? It's like Hashem is always watching. I have to say, it should be easier for us now because it seems like there are cameras everywhere. You can't go anywhere without the risk of somebody recording what you're doing. Right? It should make us behave much better. Ironically, it's had the opposite effect. But that's the idea of I place Hashem in front of me always because you act different when your father's watching you. You act different when the king's watching you. You act different when you're being videoed and this could go viral. This could follow me around for the rest of my life. That's the way David lived his life. And then he says, at my right hand, I will not falter. In Kriya Shema Lamita, we describe the malachim that surround our bed at night. We say, Mimini Michael. On my right is Michael, on my left is Gabriel, in front of me is Uriel, and behind me is Raphael. And there's a reason for that arrangement. Because my right hand is my strong hand. And my strong hand, now I think, oh, I'm in control, I'm in charge, I've done this myself. No, I need Michael, the malach of Emunah. My left hand's my weak hand. I need Gabriel, the malach of Gevura. It strengthens me. And to go in the right direction, I need guidance. I have Uriel from Or, light, the malach that teaches. And behind me, I need protection from illness, which sneaks up from behind. I need Raphael. So each malach has a job to do. Each malach has a position. And so here, when he says, Hashem is always at my right hand, what David is really saying is, even when I do everything myself, David would go to war and he'd pursue his enemies and he would defeat them in battle, and he never took credit for it. He always recognized it was all coming min Hashemayim. It was all from Hashem. He was just the sword in Hashem's hand, as it were. And a pasuk test. Lachein samach libi v'yoga kavoidi. My heart rejoices. Therefore, my heart rejoices, and my honor um, is filled with joy. Af besori yishkoin lavetach. Also, my flesh dwells with confidence. Right? So, what's my flesh? It goes back to really the idea that we talked about at the very beginning, that the body is really just a kli. It's really just a vessel to serve the the soul, to serve the neshama. And the problem is that the body can take over. Maybe a better moshel, a better illustration would be it's like an animal to ride on. If I harness the animal and I control it, then it serves me. If I let it run wild, then it just carries me off wherever it wants. But the body ultimately wants to be harnessed. Doesn't know it all the time. Doesn't know it much of the time. It's like little children when they're acting out. What they're really waiting for is for the adult to take charge and show them that somebody's in control. And when the adults don't do that, it makes kids very nervous, very uncomfortable. The body is created to serve the neshama, and that's where its ultimate joy comes from. So when David says that my heart rejoices, that's his inner desires that come from the neshama, and the body is and the basar, the flesh is the body that rejoices when it is conscripted into the service of the neshama and the service of God. Ki lo sa'zoif nafshi lishoyel lo siten chasidcha nirois shachas. Right? Because you will not abandon my soul to the grave. You will not allow your devoted one to see destruction. These are according to the Gemara, these are both names that refer to Gehenna. That Hashem, as long as I am committed to serve you, committed to do the right thing, you won't let me stumble. You won't let me turn down the wrong path. In other words, you respond to me because you recognize my desire, my sincere desire. And a sincere desire means effort, commitment, focus. It means I'm trying to do that. I'm not, right? God helps those who help themselves means that when I'm helping myself to do the right thing, then I can count on Hashem's protection and his divine guidance. And you won't let me turn towards Gehenna as long as I am sincerely devoted to doing the right thing, to serving you the way you want to be served. When David refers to himself as Chasidcho, your pious one, the Midrash says that what allowed David to be called a Chassid is that when people cursed him, he was silent. He didn't call back at them. He didn't answer them. Right? He recognized that he had made his mistakes. He had committed his transgressions. And therefore, this was just part of divine retribution. And better to be punished in this world than the next world. And that these people, they're just agents carrying out the divine will. And he didn't respond to people who cursed him, which is really quite extraordinary. And then he concludes the Tehillah with Toidi'eni Eirach Chaim. Guide me in the way of life. Soiva smoches es panecho. The satiation, the satiety of joys is before you. Ne'imais biminecha netzach. The pleasantness is in your right hand forever. for all eternity. Hashem, you will continue to make known to me the path of life that you want me to follow. And that fills me with joy, that I always feel in your presence in this world, and I can look forward to it in the next world. And it brings a medrash here that says that that Hashem responded to David on 4 levels by telling David what to give his attention. He said, give attention to Yiras Hashem, fear of God, to Yisurim, to struggles, right? Sometimes we get sick, sometimes we get hurt, sometimes we have financial problems, sometimes we have various nisyonos with family and community. Every unpleasantness in life is for a reason. It's for us to learn from, for us to experience as a kapara, for us to grow, for us to endure. The third one is Torah. As long as we're learning, as long as we're trying to understand the Ratzon Hashem better, we're on the right path. And the fourth one is the Aseres Yemei Tshuva. And even though we can get distracted during the year, once we come to the period between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that's the cosmic reset button. We can for 10 days, we can give our full attention to the job at hand, and that will recalibrate us so that we can go into the new year with confidence. So the job is all year long of focusing on fear of Hashem, on accepting Yisurim with ahava, with love, on studying Torah and learning the lessons of Torah and the discipline of Torah, and then when we come to the Aseres Yemei Tshuva, using that to recalibrate, to reset, so that we can start all over again. All right. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you.
Do they use the word besarai, besari? That's like flesh.
Yeah.
Isn't it like that you eat?
Well, not necessarily. I mean,
I remember seeing the signs kosher busser.
yeah, basar means meat.
Yeah.
And that word is used when referencing the physicality of our bodies. Doesn't mean we're going to indulge in cannibalism.
No, but I mean it's a
But in that sense, yeah, the
visual
flesh of a human being, right?
Uh-huh.
Right, what do we say in the morning davening before and in the Birkas HaShachar we say, right? We say that the difference between Adam and Behema is nothing.
Yeah.
Right? That's if we follow our lower nature, our lesser selves. But if we let the neshama guide our actions, then we elevate our basar to a level of spirituality.
And that's why our grandparents, let them rest in peace, used to yell at us about being a behema or a vildachaya, never an autumn or a shalom.
Well, you don't yell at somebody, but what we want to be is an autumn, and we want to be shalom.
Right. You should be. No, it was never. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Have a good evening.
Good evening. Take care.